Some people work round the clock to become millionaires. Others just go to flea markets. Today I'm going to show you some finds that provided their owners with a very comfortable retirement. You're going to be jealous. Tolkien himself probably never imagined that his famous ring would get someone a VIP seat with Post Malone. But a guy named Brooke found out firsthand. In 2023, this Magic the Gathering fan bought a cheap set of cards from a thrift store. When he opened the pack, he found the One Ring, a card of which there is exactly one copy. Post Malone, basically the world's most famous celebrity geek, quickly heard about the discovery. "How much do you want for it?" he asked Brooke. Then he transferred $2 million to him without thinking twice. That's some real ring magic. The global price of 1 gram of gold is around $145. So now let's count how much richer this woman got after buying a little bag of jewelry at Goodwill. A gold bracelet with diamonds? That's 1. A vintage Tiffany gold ring? That's 2. 2 more gold rings. Now we're at 4. A pendant with a real sapphire? 5. A 14-karat gold pendant? 6. And a custom ring with an estimated value of $800. 7. Total, a scary amount of money. Too scary to say out loud, but not too scary to write. Try to guess the final price in the comments. One man went looking for old junk at a flea market and found a $50 million treasure instead. That's how the wild story of the first Superman comic finally came to an end. In 2000, the comic was stolen from Nicolas Cage's house during a party. The actor thought it was gone forever until pure chance stepped in. In 2011, another man bought the contents of an abandoned storage unit, hoping to find something valuable among the junk. Imagine his surprise when he found Cage's missing treasure. After the comic was returned to its owner, it sold at auction for $2.2 million. And in January 2026, at an anonymous sale, its value jumped all the way to $15 million. Not bad for a little booklet that cost 10 cents in 1938. How do you buy a Hollywood celebrity for the price of a used car? Just ask the Kiernan family. In 1974, they bought a 1968 Ford Mustang GT from a detective in New Jersey for just $6,000. The Kiernans have no idea it was the same car Steve McQueen drove in the chase scene from the movie Bullet. Its real value didn't become clear until 2020 when it went up for auction. The car sold for $3.4 million, making it the most expensive Mustang in history. In 1969, Neil Armstrong managed to take a lunar sample bag to the moon and bring it back safely. Meanwhile, NASA couldn't even keep it safe here on Earth, and all because of an inventory mistake. In 2015, the artifact accidentally ended up at a government auction where an Illinois lawyer bought it for just $995. When she sent the bag to NASA for authentication, they immediately recognized it and flat out refused to give it back. But the law sided with her, so she put the bag up for sale and made $1.8 million off the space agency's mistake. With $220 in his pocket and a ridiculous amount of luck, Paul Beatty stumbled onto some real treasure. 2 original versions of Head of Christ, 1 oil painting and 1 pastel, were sitting in a Chicago thrift store staring right at him. Beatty arranged to buy both pieces for $100 each. Just a few days later, he found a buyer who paid 1,000 times more. That's nothing short of a divine gift. Imagine your husband secretly taking $50,000 from the house and spending it on some cardboard with a baseball player on it. Sounds like a reason to file for divorce, right? Now fast forward. That cardboard turns out to be an ultra-rare 1952 Mickey Mantle card. Years later, it sells at auction for $12.6 million. Suddenly, the story feels a little different. Anthony Giordano is the man who made that investment in 1991, and he never regretted it. You can buy anything on eBay, even a decommissioned tank. And not just any tank, but one with a golden ticket inside. In 2017, armored vehicle collector Nick Mead bought a T-54/69 for $37,500 and found something in the fuel tank. Not a trip to the chocolate factory, but several gold bars weighing 5 kilograms each. In dollar terms, that's about $2,500,000. Can you imagine? The gold was probably hidden by Russian looters during the Iraq War, but they never managed to take their treasure home. Go check your attic right now. You never know when you might have an original Beatles instrument sitting up there, now valued at $12 million. It all started in 1972, when the head of the Hastings family brought home a Hofner bass. He claimed he had traded some guy in a pub a few pounds and free beer for it. That person, said he, had stolen it from Paul McCartney's van. The family only found those pub stories were actually true in 2023 when journalists started reporting on the missing guitar. In the end, they returned the instrument to McCartney. Master Gagliano's heart would probably stop all over again if he knew his handmade violin had been pawned for just $50. The thief didn't know what he had. The pawn shop employee didn't know either, but the police did. They quickly recognized the rare instrument and returned it to its rightful owner. Its true value came in at over $200,000 higher than the pawn shop price. Can you believe someone walked into a garage sale with $1,000 in their pocket and left? Or rather, drove away in a rare manual Porsche from 1980? Even better, that person later sold the find at auction for $22,000. Where does this kind of luck even come from? Share some with the rest of us, buddy. In Britain, a member of the royal family was forced to work for years in a honeymoon hotel. And no, I'm not talking about a living prince. I'm talking about the marriage bed of King Henry VII, made all the way back in 1486. This masterpiece of history somehow ended up on a trash heap where a local junk dealer picked it up. The poor guy carelessly sold it to a restorer named Ian Colson for just $2,850. If he knew this bed would now be valued at $25 million, he would probably lose his mind. Meet Maxim, a 1941 machine gun that somehow ended up at a flea market. Maxim's real value is around $15,000, but for some reason, it's being sold for $4,500. Well, that's the seller's problem, not Maxim's. During World War I, British tank crews owed their lives to masks like this. They protected soldiers from fragments flying around inside lightly armored vehicles like the Mark I through Mark IV. It's amazing that an example like this survived to the present day, and even more amazing that someone found it on eBay for a couple bucks. The real value of a mask like this is around $3,000 to $4,000. Want an aircraft fleet like Donald Trump's? Try a garage sale. For $200, you might find something close, maybe even cooler. And yeah, it might still fly. Forget stocks and crypto, because the best investment of the year is corn puffs. At least that's how it worked out for Paul Barlett. He noticed a unique Cheeto on eBay, about 8 centimeters long, that looked exactly like the Pokemon called Charizard. After buying the listing for $350, he immediately put it up for auction. In just half a minute, the bidding closed at $87,840. It's nice to eat lunch next to a painting you bought at an auction for just $500. Even nicer when you find out it was painted by Harold Newton, one of the leaders of the Highwaymen. Back in the 1950s, the Highwaymen were a group of African-American artists from South Florida. Because of segregation, galleries wouldn't show their work, so they sold their paintings along the highway. Today, those bright Florida landscapes can be worth around $8,000 to $12,000. If you don't know much about baseball, maybe it's time to start learning. There's a real chance it could make you rich. Just ask the guy who bought Jackie Robinson's glove at a flea market in 2013 for only $20. For context, Jackie Robinson was the first black player in Major League Baseball. His number 42, which is written right on the glove, has been retired across all of American baseball as a sign of respect. So yeah, it makes sense that someone paid $373,002 for it at an auction. Hermes China is the kind of designer tableware you're afraid to even breathe near. So imagine this woman's surprise when she opened an antique dresser she had just bought and found 13 orange boxes filled with that porcelain treasure, and a Tiffany box to boot. Of course, she contacted the former owner and gave it all back, but still, finding that inside an old dresser is probably rarer than winning the lottery. This race car spent years rotting in a backyard in France, covered in moss and eaten up by corrosion. The machine had been completely written off by its former owner, but the new owner decided to give it a second life. He fully restored the body, built in a 600 horsepower V8 engine, and added a few stylish design touches. Now the car is back on the track and valued at more than $50,000. Some people go to thrift stores for vintage clothes, but true pros go there to make money. Amanda Lee Smith is one of those pros. She found a huge 104 by 147 centimeter oil painting buried among junk. The piece was practically screaming, "I'm valuable! Take me home!" The clean backing on the reverse side was another big clue. Amanda paid $30 without hesitation and took it to be examined. Experts confirmed that it had been painted sometime between the 1960s and 1980s, and its market value could reach $1,200 to $2,800. You're looking at the most recognizable diving helmet in history, the one that became a symbol of 20th century diving, and it was put up for sale for basically the price of a thank you. Let's not tell the seller that artifacts like this can bring in at least $12,000 at auction. One look at this bench, and you can tell it's worth more than the $375 someone paid for it. And yeah, it really is. It was made in 1970 by famous architect and furniture maker George Nakashima. He spent weeks walking through the forest looking for the perfect piece of hickory for the seat. A bench like this could easily bring in $40,000 at auction. And since it comes with the master's original sketch, maybe even $45,000. "We're ruined," said the wife of a Canadian doctor after he spent $14,000 of their retirement savings on an old book. At the time, she didn't even know the author was Andreas Vesalius, the father of modern anatomy. When the rare 1555 edition went up for auction, the bidding exploded. It sold for $2.2 million, giving the doctor and his wife exactly the kind of retirement they had hoped for. Marissa Alcorn goes thrift shopping so often that valuable things practically hunt her down at this point. One day, she and her husband had simply stopped in after dinner, right as an employee was rolling out a cart of new items from the back room. Marissa immediately noticed the massive frame. To be honest, she didn't even like the painting itself, but the $2.99 price tag was enough to make her pull out her wallet. And that decision changed everything. After taking a closer look at the find in the car, she noticed the signature of famous impressionist Johann Bertelsen. I think you know what happened next. The painting sold at auction for $2,875. Family will always help you out when you're in a tough spot, especially when they're not around, as a man from Ottawa found out firsthand. After failing in hard financial times, he decided to sell an old family bracelet with gold charms. While examining the 24 tiny pendants, the appraiser noticed a unique Indian gold coin among them, dating back to 1605. After a detailed examination by numismatists, the historic rarity went up for auction and sold for 504,000 Canadian dollars. Now that is one serious family heirloom. Fork out $20,000 for a book full of scribbles? Easy if you're a Harry Potter fan. It all started when a copy of The Philosopher's Stone was bought at a charity shop for 80 cents. It turned out to be one of the unique 500 copies that launched Pottermania around the world. Even though the inside had several ugly little sketches, the book's collector value was super high. In fact, someone ended up paying exactly $19,711 at auction for the right to own it. This was the face of the Goodwill employee when she found $8,000 inside a donated shirt. And this was Bob Hoffman's face when he realized the shirt was missing from his closet. It was the same shirt that he had been using to secretly stash money for the last 6 years to surprise his wife. And these were the emotions of that very wife who had donated her husband's shirt to the thrift store because he hadn't worn it in 6 years. Long story short, the plot is more confusing than The Witcher. But what's important is that everyone got their stuff back in the end. Scotland, 1964. A man buys a little figurine at a flea market for about $6. He brings it home, tosses it into a dresser drawer, and forgets about it for 55 years. He later passed away without ever knowing he had been sleeping in the same room as a piece of the legendary Lewis chessmen. That's right, the same ones Ron and Harry use in the Philosopher's Stone. And yes, that little figure is worth $929,000. Beyoncé and Paris Hilton have paid tens of thousands of dollars for gowns made by Galia Lahav. But a woman named Amali managed to pick up one at a thrift store for just $25. She was on her way when she decided to take one last look at the clearance rack and spotted a stunning wedding dress. Never mind that she wasn't even planning a wedding. At that price, how could anyone say no? You're not going to believe what this guy found at a thrift store. A real Lightning McQueen sleeping bag. Oh, and a few diamond rings too, I guess. After paying around $10 for everything, he's now looking at a small fortune. You don't need a pirate map to find yourself some gold coins. You just have to buy a used kitchen cabinet online like this man did. While wiping the dust off his new find, he discovered a bundle containing 12 Republican coins with a market value of around $7,000. He really wanted to keep them, but instead, he gave it all back to the family who sold it to him. What would you have done if you were him? Leave a comment. What happens when auction experts get it totally wrong? Well, you become a multi-millionaire like Alex Clausen, of course. He took a risk in 2022 and paid $239,000 for an antique nautical chart. Then he and his team carefully studied the parchment and discovered something sensational. The navigation chart wasn't made in the 16th century, as the auction house had claimed, but in the 14th. In other words, Alex had bought the fourth oldest surviving porcelain chart in Europe. After the find was officially verified by international specialists, its estimated value shot up to a ridiculous $7.5 million. Sometimes lying for profit can turn into millions. Just not for the liar. In 1997, a sneaky seller at a garage sale in St. Louis talked a woman into buying a broken Buddhist statue for $100, claiming it brought good luck. Who knew karma would take that so literally? 20 years later, the woman decided to show it to specialists and was stunned. It turned out to be an extremely rare relic from the Tang dynasty, more than 1,000 years old. When the piece went up for auction, it started a bidding war, and the original estimate of $80,000 shot all the way up to $2,100,000. It shocked everyone, including the seller, who is probably still selling junk out of his garage. After fixing a piano, the technician can usually expect to get paid in a few bills. Well, a man named Mark got 913 gold coins instead. While tuning the old instrument, he looked under the keyboard and found a hidden stash of 6 kilograms of gold. The coins had been minted between 1847 and 1915. But who hid them inside, and why, is still a mystery. What we do know is that under British treasure law, Mark is legally entitled to half the value of this incredible find, which comes to around $320,000. What does it feel like to be the first person to hear a new song by your idol? I have no idea because I'm not Greg Musgrove, the man who found 12 unreleased Michael Jackson songs. 2 years prior, he had bought a storage unit that had belonged to Michael's former producer, Brian Lauren, and came across boxes of tapes. Inside were recordings the King of Pop had worked on in the late 80s and early 90s. Tracks like Don't Believe It, Son of Thriller, and Truth on Youth, where Michael unexpectedly raps in a feature with LL Cool J, will probably never be released due to copyright issues, but Greg plans to put the find up for auction in the hopes of getting 7 figures for them. That bidding war is going to be epic. For just $12, you could get a burger combo, a case of beer, or an original artwork by Pierre-Auguste Renoir. Of course, only if you're as lucky as a woman named Heidi. While other flea market browsers were still trying to make out the artist's signature in the corner and the stamp on the back, this woman brought the painting without overthinking it and happily carried it home. She believes the painting may depict the artist's wife, Aline Charigot. If experts officially confirm that theory, Heidi could make millions, maybe even tens of millions of dollars from her find. There's a golden rule among thrift hunters. If you spot an antique-looking vase for $31, buy first and ask questions later. Chances are it was made using some rare historical Asian technique, in this case, Moriage ware, and could be worth well over $1,200. This guy must have a strong belief in leprechauns, because he somehow found a gold brooch from 1870s Ireland at a thrift store. The piece weighs 3.9 grams and is valued at no less than 280 euros. This flag isn't tattered because moths got to it. It looks like this because on June 6, 1944, it witnessed the massive Allied landing in Normandy. After the fighting was over, the captain of the USS LST-392, the ship this flag had flown on, kept it as a souvenir. A few decades later, that souvenir sold for $84,000 at auction. Finding a Lancaster watch camera at a flea market is basically a guaranteed start to your James Bond career. Back in the Victorian era, devices like these were so rare and expensive that only a select few spies could get their hands on them. Today, finding a men's version is lucky enough. Finding the women's version is even crazier. At antique auctions, people are prepared to pay at least $20,000 for one. Donations are supposed to make people happy, not give them panic attacks, but that's exactly what happened to a thrift store owner in Hanover when he found a World War II grenade inside a donation box. Fortunately, the police confirmed that the grenade was harmless, but he will definitely be inspecting further donations more carefully. When this man showed up at a garage sale, the seller pressed a shotgun against his chest and said, "Take it, it's free." Now that's a sales pitch that's hard to refuse, especially when the item in question is a 1905 Knickerbocker double-barrel shotgun, one that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for. In the mid-20th century, Ronson lighters were about as sought after as new iPhones are today. Just look at this vintage Ronson Milady M25. Even after its long journey from 1950s England to a Goodwill shelf, the design still looks like a work of art. I can already see collectors dropping a nice little sum for it at auction. Have you ever bought a grandpa at a thrift store for $100? Relax, not that kind of grandpa. We're talking about the BC611 Handy Talkie, the grandfather of all portable radios and the world's first mass-produced handheld transmitter. Today, collectors are willing to pay $1,000 or more for one. This isn't just a piece of metal, it's a cold steel Indian war club, inspired by The Last of the Mohicans. In other words, probably not something you want to toss into a thrift store donation box when collectors are willing to pay at least $200 for it. When this man saw a certain knife, he probably had to double-check whether he had walked into a flea market or a black market. The old seller behind the counter told him the handle was made from the jaw of a wild raccoon. The blade's maker believed that a weapon like this gave its owner the animal's cunning and instinct. Is that true? The man sure hopes so. He didn't buy the knife for $2 for nothing. When this man walked into a garage sale, he could hardly believe his eyes. Standing in front of him was a Cessna 170, a small aviation classic that, in its prime, was worth around $100,000. The craziest part is that the owner was practically giving the legendary plane away. This woman bought a telescope at a garage sale for $50 so she could watch you subscribe to this channel. Please make her investment worth it. Here's a piece of advice. If you're heading to a garage sale hosted by an old veteran, you might want to wear some protective gear. Then again, it's probably not going to help much when there's an 82mm Soviet mortar shell from World War II sitting out in the open. Finding a bicycle at a flea market is the dream of every Amsterdam resident. But if that bicycle is a tropenfahrrad, then it's the dream of collectors around the world. During World War II, these bikes were used by special Wehrmacht bicycle units. They served as mobile infantry, scouts, and signal troops. Of course, compared to tanks and armored vehicles, the tropenfahrrad didn't get much attention back then, but it definitely does now, with prices around 1,500 euros to 4,000 euros at European auctions. If you thought that this was ordinary costume jewelry, I hate to disappoint you. You're looking at a luxurious 22-karat gold ring decorated with a diamond and rubies, which a woman bought for just $1.20. She found it in a box of cheap jewelry and assumed the dirty stone in the center was just glass. Who could have known that this was exactly how jewelers of the Mughal Empire was making pieces in the Taj Mahal back in the 1600s. As you can probably imagine, a find like this is worth quite a bit. About $2,500 to be exact. Think the kids' toy section only has things like teddy bears? Not even close. In one American thrift store, a woman dug up a firearm. Granted, one about the size of a matchbox, it was a mini revolver that fires 2mm cartridges. It won't do much to a person, but it can punch straight through an aluminium can. Handmade pieces like this are valued at around $800 on online auctions, while the woman bought it up for just $1.20. The cameras were Japanese Sanwa micro models, often described as some of the earliest concealed cameras ever produced, with a collector value of around $275 each. Well, that's all for today. I'm off to the flea market to look for some more unbelievable stories. In the meantime, leave a comment telling us which find surprised you the most. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. See you next time!